All right, this is Chapter 1, Lesson 4, percents greater than 100% and percents less than 1%. So greater than 100%, less than 1%. Okay, so percents as decimals and fractions. Percents greater than 100% or less than 1% can also be written as decimals or as fractions. So let's take a look at some examples. The first example I have is write 0.2% as a decimal and as a fraction in simplest form. Okay. So what I can do is I can take my decimal, which is right here, and I can move it 2 places to the left because it's a percent, so I have to move it 2 places to the left. So if I do that 1, 2, I get 0.002. Well, this 2 is in the thousandths place. So I have 2 over 1,000, or I can simplify this by dividing both by 2, 1 over 500. For number 2, I have write 170% as a mixed number in simplest form and as a decimal. So 170% I can write as 170 over 100, which when I change it, because this is an improper fraction, 100 goes into 170 one time. I have 70 left over, 100, which I can again simplify. The zeros cancel, or 1 7/10. Now when I write this as a decimal, the 1 stays out front, and 7/10 I can write as 0.7. Okay. Number 3, Jimmy's savings increased by 250%. Write 250% as a mixed number in simplest form and as a decimal. 250% becomes 250 over 100. 100 goes into 250 2 times with 50 over 100. 50 and 100 can both be divided by 50, so I get 2 1/2. Okay. This becomes 2.5. So 50 over 100, really it's like saying 0.50. Again, it's a terminating decimal. Okay. So Jimmy more than doubled his savings. All right, now there are 4 try it problems here, so I want you to try those out. Okay, pause the video, go ahead and try them, and we'll come back and work on them together. All right, the first try it problem says write each percent as a decimal and as a mixed number or fraction in simplest form. So A equals 0.25. Okay, so 0.25 I can write as a decimal by moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So that becomes 0.0025. This is the same as saying 25 over 1, 2, 3, 4, the 10,000ths place. Okay. Basically, it's the same thing as saying there's 1, 2, 3, 4 places behind the decimal, so I need to have 4 zeros. I can divide both of these by 25. So this equals 1 over 400. So 0.0025 and 1 over 400. For letter B, I have 300%. That's the same thing as saying 300 over 100, which is just 3. So I don't have to write it any other way. So 3, and then as a decimal, it would also be 3. Because it's just 3. It's a whole number. For letter C, I have 530%, which is the same thing as saying 530 over 100, which equals 5, and 30 over 100, which equals 5 3/10. So when I write that as a decimal, I write 5.3. Okay. Letter D says the stock price for a corporation increased by 0.11%, 0.11%, right? 0.11% as a decimal and as a fraction in simplest form. Okay, so I'm going to take this decimal, I'm going to move it 2 places to the left. So that means 0.0011 is the decimal, and then I can write 11 over, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So 11 over 10,000. So 0.0011 and 11 over 10,000. Okay. Now on page 33 is the second portion of our lesson, percents greater than 100% and percents less than 100%. Okay. So I first went from percents to decimals and fractions. Now I'm going to go from mixed numbers and decimals to percents. Okay. So to write a blank as a percent, multiply by 100 and add a percent sign. So in order to write a decimal as a percent, I multiply by 100 and add a percent sign. To write a mixed number as a percent, I first write the mixed number as an improper fraction. So let's take a look at some examples. So number 4 says write 1 1/4 as a percent. When I write 1 1/4 as an improper fraction, I do 4 times 1, which is 4, plus 1 gives me 5, so a 5/4. 5/4 I can change to a fraction with the denominator of 100. 4 times 25 gives me 100. 5 times 25 is 125. So 1 1/4 is 125 over 100, or 125%. Number 5 says write 1.68 as a percent. So I'm going to take 1.68 and I'm going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. When I do that, I get 168%. For number 6, it says write 0.0075 as a percent. So I'm just going to move my decimal 2 places to the right. 1, 2. I get 0.75%. Now, there are a couple of try it problems, so I want you to try them out. Okay. Pause the video. Once you're done trying them, we will go over them together. Alright, so now that you've tried the try it problems, let's look at them together. So the first one says write each mixed number as a percent. So I have 2 and 9/10. So the first thing I want to do is rewrite the mixed number as an improper fraction. 10 times 2 is 20, plus 9 is 29 over 10. And I want to change that so it has a denominator of 100. 10 times 10 is 100. 29 times 10 gives me 290. So this is the same thing as saying 290%. Okay? Letter F is 3 2/5. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17. So I have 17/5. Okay? And I want to get it to 100. Well, I multiply both of these by 20. So 17 times 20 is 340. So this is 340%. I want to take the decimal and I want to make it into a percent. So So I have 2.5 for letter G. So I'm going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. 1, 2. So this is 250%. For letter H, I have 0.004. Again, I want to move the decimal 2 places to the right. So I get 0.4%. For letter I have 0.0016. I'm going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. So I get 0.16%. Last one is letter J. The slowest land mammal is the sloth. Its speed is about 0.0016 that of a cheetah. Write this number as a percent. So I'm going to write 0.0016 as a percent. Okay? So all I'm going to do is move the decimal 2 places to the right. So I get 0.16%. So the sloth is 0.16% of the cheetah's speed. And that is the end of lesson 4.